How do we display the data? The easiest way to query the data and display it is through the select statement. So whether it's an ad hoc query where we're trying to pull some information and show it on the run, or whether we're trying to display it in a fancy business intelligent interface, select statements are an amazing way of doing that. For instance, a lot of people would use reporting tools such as Tableau, Power BI, SSRS. All of those are powerful tools where a select statement could leverage showing the data in a very beautiful and easy way. Not only that, not only do you query the fields, but you could also do computations and calculations on the run. You could filter through your data. You can group through your data. It's a very powerful tool of very quickly querying data from one table or multiple tables or multiple objects, and in some cases, multiple data sources, and being able to display it in a centralized place. So that's a lot of where we're going to find the SQL statement is in reporting tools and also the user interface of the database itself. So if you're on SQL Server, you can use SSMS, SQL Server Management Studio, to execute your select statement into your data and even export it to whether a CSV or an Excel or some other format that you need it in. If you're in Oracle, you can use it through SQL Plus or SQL Developer, Oracle Enterprise Manager, MySQL, and all the other relational databases allow you to use select statements to query your data and even export it as needed. So it's a very powerful tool, easy to use with a lot of interfaces and great value. So naturally then, the second question is, how do I write a select statement? The most basic select statement is, the syntax for it is select, then you list the fields from the table that you're getting the data from, and then from, and then the table name. So if I'm getting data from the person table, it's going to be select the list of the fields that I'm interested in. They're comma separated, except for the last one doesn't have a comma after it, and then from. So this, once I highlight it and execute it, again, different interfaces have different ways where you can highlight it and then hit run, or in the case of SSMS, it's the execute. If it's the only command that I'm running, then execute will do. But if I have multiple commands, then I would highlight that command and hit execute, as we will do here shortly. So select, I want to get the person type, not all of those fields, but specific fields. I'm looking for the person type. I'm looking for the first name, middle name, last name, email promotion, and modified date. So I'm selecting field number 1, comma, field number 2, all the way towards the end from this object. So let's hit execute, and I'm not going to have all of those. I'm just going to have the specific fields that I need. And sure enough, that's what I got. So the most basic format of the select statement is select the list of fields from and the object, in this case, the table that I'm getting my data from. So now what we're going to do is combine what we've learned between the DDL and the DML commands. So what we're going to do is we're going to query a table, which is the customer table. However, you have two options. One option is to list the fields that you're looking for. And if you were to put an asterisk, basically that stands for all the fields. So I'm looking for all the fields. I can list all the fields, comma separated, or I could put a star, an asterisk. Now that would give me all the fields that are in there. So what we're going to do is we're going to query a table that is not yet created, which is select star, which means all the fields for the customer's table. And that table is not created. So we should get an error message saying that that table is not created. Then we're going to run the next command, which is to create the DDL part of SQL. Create a table, and the table name is customers. It's going to have two fields, and then look at the brackets open around those field names, name and telephone number. Name data type is varchar of maximum length of 50. And then the telephone number is an integer, which is basically a numeric field without any decimals. Not null, meaning that they're required to put in that information. Once we create the table, again, we're going to query it, and we should see a table with no data in it, but has two fields. Then we're going to alter the table. So we're going to change the table customers by adding a field, and the field name is email, and it's varchar 50. So we're adding an email field. Then we're going to run the select statement one more time. This time we should have name, telephone number, and email, because we just added that. Well, the first time around, we just want to run all the three major DDL commands. So we're going to drop the table, and then we'd run it again, and that table should not exist. However, we're going to do it a second time, create the table, alter by adding that email address. So now we should have 3 fields, run it, we should have 3 fields, but no data. Then we're going to go in and insert information in there. And we're going to insert into the table. Notice we try to parse this in a way that makes it easier. So we're going to have open brackets, close brackets, and then values. So for name, between quotes, we're going to add Michael Jordan, comma, comma. For the second field, which is telephone number, try to put it right under it. Telephone number, single quotes, comma. And then for the email, we're going to put Michael email. Once we enter that, we're going to run it, and we should see that we have those 3 fields, those 3 field values in there because we've just inserted it. Then we're going to update. And what we're going to do is we're going to update the customer table, set the telephone number, so it was 1, 2, 3 through 0. We're going to update it to 313. Where? So we're adding a filter or condition saying I'm just updating that specific record. The name is equal to Michael Jordan. So if we had multiple records, it's only going to update that specific one because we added the filter, which is the where clause, where name is equal to Michael Jordan. Then we're going to query it, make sure that it changed that number from this to this, updated it. Then we're going to delete it and then run it, and we should have no data in there for the record Michael Jordan. So now we're going to go ahead and do that. We're going to run the select statement. We shouldn't have that table, so we get an error message saying invalid object name, which means that object does not exist. Now we're going to highlight it and hit execute. So we're creating the table customers with name, telephone number. And now it's set it completed. So if we run to query, we should have a table with 2 fields in it. Highlight select, execute, and we have a name field and a telephone on a table called customers. Let's go ahead and add a field called email. So alter the table customers and add a field called emails. That's varchar 50. So if I run the select, we run this and it said it executed. If we query it now, we should have 3 fields. So let's see if that happens. Sure enough, name, telephone, and email. All right, we're going to go ahead and drop that table. So now that said it completed successfully, run it, and that table should not exist anymore. Invalid object name. So let's do the exercise one more time. So create the table. So we should have name and telephone numbers. And yes, we do, name and telephone number. Let's add customers to it. The customer email. It said it did, so let's query it. And sure enough, we have name, telephone, and email. Now we're going to skip through dropping, and we're going to add values to name, telephone, and email, which is Michael Jordan, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 0 telephone number, and that's the email address. So let's insert. It said 1 row is affected. So let's go ahead and run it, and we should have 1 row under those 3 fields. Sure enough, name is Michael Jordan, telephone number, and email. But now we want to update the telephone number to this, where the name is equal to Michael Jordan. So let's see if that works. Execute, 1 row affected. So now we query it. Telephone number has changed because we updated for that specific record. We filtered with the where clause. But now we're done with this. We don't need the record anymore, so we can delete it. So we're going to delete from customers, where the name is equal to Michael Jordan. So if we run this, it should say 1 row affected, which is the Michael Jordan record. And now if we run the select statement, there should be 0 rows or no rows in there. So now we got to run the most basic DDL commands and DML commands in SQL, including the query or the select statement. So we created a table, altered to the table, dropped the table, and then we inserted, now that's the DML, the data manipulation. We inserted a record, we updated the record, and we deleted the record, and we've run the select statement where we queried our data. Thank you. With this, we come to the end of this session, and we'd like to thank you for joining us. And also, don't hesitate to visit our website at learnitcoursesonline.com to leave your feedback and reviews. And also look at our events. We have a lot of free sessions, and we'd be more than happy to have you join at any given time, and also sign up with us for our newsletter. Thank you and have a wonderful time.